Well, 1:45 then this Friday afternoon, and I'm about to ask you a question you might not have considered before. Okay, when a mum or a dad or a guardian is sent to prison, what happens to the child that they may leave behind? I mean, the answer to this may surprise you. The reality is there's no statutory mechanism in place to support or even identify children of a parent in prison. But there are some incredible charitable organisations that work with families and help to ensure that those children have the best possible opportunities given those circumstances. One of those is Children Heard and Seen, a charity working in Cumnor, and they're also campaigning to change government policy on this. And to top all of that off, they have just received a CSJ award, which are known as the Oscars of the small charity world. Sounds like richly deserved. And I'm delighted to be joined by Sarah Burrows in the studio, who's CEO and founder of the charity. Afternoon, Sarah.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming in. I mean, I guess, shall we start with the congratulations of the award? How did that feel to get that?
We're really pleased because we feel that parental imprisonment is so invisible. Yeah. And by winning the award, we're hoping that it will shine a light on the issue.
So I mentioned some of the issues around here, and you founded Children Heard and Seen, as I said. Tell me about the charity and the aims of your charity.
Well, I set up the charity in 2014 because I was concerned when I had read a small piece of research that 65% of boys with a parent had gone on to offend themselves. And I assumed that there were support services out there. And there isn't any community support services in England supporting children with a parent in prison. So set up Children Heard and Seen to specifically support children who had a parent in prison, but it had been very difficult in terms of identifying who the children were. I made an assumption that it would be known who they are, and we don't know who they are. And one of the challenges when we first started was finding out who the children are. And there is an assumption that in some way social services would be stepping in and knowing who the children are. We have had, in fact, last year in 1 month alone, we had 5 lots of children who were living on their own without an adult looking after them. Yeah. And one boy of 15 had been on his own for months, going off to school every day, pretending somebody was at home, having no gas or electricity or anything in the home. So, yeah, they are an invisible group.
Oh, and so need our support. I mean, tell me about some of the young people that you've worked with then. What are their stories?
I mean, they range. We support any child as long as they currently have a parent in prison. We initially were based in Oxford and then sort of went out into the Thames Valley, and then when the pandemic came, we now support children from all over the country. And the support we offer is sort of that one-to-one support and a group work and mentoring support. But the one-to-one is the sort of the trauma that they have witnessed and they have seen. So it's really difficult to sort of give sort of individual examples because the children we support are children, but with many, many different issues. Nobody's the same. You know, some children have witnessed some, horrendous stuff within the home. Some haven't until the parent is arrested, and then they have been there at the arrest and they witness that. That's deeply traumatic, being woken up in the middle of the night and the house coming in. And then for something that they haven't done, but it's their parent that's done it, have suffered abuse at school. We've had instances of children being beaten up at school, WhatsApp groups. If my father did what your father did, I would kill myself. Seeing their mothers assaulted in the street, having poo through the letterbox. Awful stuff, really, through nothing that they've done.
Yeah. And so the process then, Sarah, because these people, the young people are invisible. So how do you get to them? Are the police involved? Are you actively searching out for them? Do they reach out to you?
Well, mainly most of our referrals from up and down the country are self-referrals from families themselves. But we are doing an innovative project with Thames Valley Violence Reduction Unit in terms of that they have got some data sets, and they are doing door knocking for children currently whose parent has just gone to prison, and then we then provide the support. So it's a mix in terms of that identification, but it does mean there's thousands and thousands of children up and down the country unknown and unsupported though.
And he's so vulnerable, and it is, it's disheartening, isn't it, that there is this cyclical effect that you're trying to break in terms of, because you are more likely to offend if you have known an offender in your family.
Yes, and I do think that there's sort of three things that we all need, and we all need a sense of self, a sense of belonging, and a sense of purpose. And I think that the support that we offer, because it is wide-ranging, can provide that then can break that intergenerational harm and the intergenerational offending, because we all need that.
And we mentioned the wonderful hands-on work that you're doing, but we also mentioned that you're trying to get government policy changed. So I mentioned there's no statutory mechanism in place to deal with children of imprisoned parents. I feel like that would surprise people, as we've said. But what are you trying to do in terms of changing things?
We really want the children to be identified and supported, and we think a real start would be through the school's admissions process. So if you're in care or your parents in the military, in terms of the school's admission, it's self-disclosure, and then schools get pupil premium to support, and we would really like that for parental imprisonment. We've just made a film looking at the different issues of that, and that's really what we're trying to campaign for.
Is there anything we can do to support you?
I think it's about people having the conversations with friends and families to say, what do you think happens when a parent goes to prison, and sort of challenging that narrative. I think if people know, then people can begin to understand. But I think there is so many assumptions about parental imprisonment, that in some way that they are being identified and supported, and a surprise that it's on self-disclosure of the parent, in prison. And actually, it's the children that haven't done anything wrong, and it is really important that they are identified and supported. And
is there information and support? Is your website the best place to signpost people to?
Definitely, or to get in touch through info@childrenheardandseen.co.uk. We've got a short film screening on the issues. It's 12 minutes long. And what we'd really like is for people to have a call for action and different ways of how they could support to change this narrative. And we've had people doing it with their book groups, universities hosting it. So we didn't want to just put it out on social media as a film and then think, well, then what? We want actually people to get involved and behind it and say, actually, what can we do as a society to change this outcome?
Yeah, so it's acknowledging that this thing happens and then talking about it and seeing if we can do something about it.
Definitely.
So it basically just look up Children Seen and Heard.
Heard and Seen.
Heard and Seen, I beg your pardon. And that's where we'll find all that wonderful information. Well, thank you for the work that you do and you continue to do. Keep us posted, and congratulations on the award as well.
Thank you very much.
Sarah Burrows, thank you very much